Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. He said, "What?" The disciples probably couldn't believe their ears. Last week and this week, we've been thinking about some of the things that Jesus said that are known as hard sayings. Things Jesus said that place uncomfortable demands on us or are hard for us to hear. The one today, however, is not only hard to hear, it's not only an uncomfortable demand, it was shocking to those who heard it and called them to live in a way far beyond what they ever expected or imagined. In the 18th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus had been teaching on a variety of subjects when suddenly Peter stepped forward. As Matthew tells it, "Then Peter came and said to him, 'Lord, if another member of the church sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times?' Jesus said to him, 'Not 7 times, but I tell you, 77 times. Now, let me clear up the first thing that probably caught your ear. Older versions of the Bible that many of us are familiar with closed with the phrase 70 times 7, which would mean 490 times. Biblical studies is an ongoing process, and over time other scrolls are found and compared, and it is generally understood that older scrolls are closer to the original than later scrolls, and so the best scholarship now says it should be 77 times. Frankly, as I hope to show you in a bit, that's not really important. So, let's get back to the story. I think the really fascinating thing about this story in the Gospels is to consider Peter and what he was up to. You see, I think Peter expected that if he went to Jesus with his suggestion of forgiving someone 7 times, that Jesus would praise Peter and lift him up as a paragon of grace and forgiveness. I think Peter expected Jesus to hold him up as a positive example to others, saying something like, "Peter, you have finally gotten it. The rest of you should have this understanding too." Who wouldn't have wanted that attention and praise? So why did Peter think that Jesus would praise him like that? Well, the rabbis said that you should forgive someone 3 times. Peter takes their 3 times, doubles it, and then adds 1 more. Even better, 7 was a number that meant fullness or completion. So Peter was coming to Jesus and saying, surely forgiving someone 7 times is the perfect full measure of forgiveness we should offer. Now, frankly, I think most of us would have difficulty doing that. If someone wrongs us in our world today, we tend to react badly. We might plot our revenge, or at the very least, excise that person from our lives. A comment I've often heard when someone has been wronged is, "Well, I'll forgive them this time, but they will never be able to do that to me again." I don't think that reflects true forgiveness. So perhaps we need to give Peter some credit. We might forgive someone 1 time, but Peter was magnanimous enough to suggest 7. Surely Jesus would praise Peter and his suggestion. Well, as you know, that's not what happened. And what did happen shocked them to no end. Jesus said, not 7 times, but I tell you 77 times. 77, 490, it really doesn't matter. What Jesus is telling us is that you should forgive more times than you can keep up with. You see, the rabbi's suggestion of 3 times, even Peter's generous suggestion of 7 times, have their focus on looking at the limits of love we need to give to other people. Where can I draw the line and take this no longer is the answer they are seeking. At what point is enough enough, and I can stand up for myself? And the hard part about what Jesus answered, and the shocking thing about what Jesus answered, is that he tells us there is no line to draw. There are no limits on love offered to others. Just as God doesn't limit the love God gives us. How many times has God forgiven you? How many times has God forgiven you for the same thing you did before? What if God said, you've got 7 chances and then that's it? I don't think that's what we want. And I know that's not what we need. The hard part of this saying is that Jesus tells us our love for one another must be like God's love for us all, unending, full of grace, compassionate, and understanding. Jesus calls us to get ourselves, our pride, our wounded dignity out of the way and to see our brothers and sisters as broken just like we are, and to walk with them in humility and in our shared brokenness. For the past 9 days, we have heard Jesus give us difficult saying after hard command, but this one may be the most difficult so far. Like Peter, even when we think we've got it, we fall short. I don't know about you, but I am certain I've needed God's forgiveness far more than 77 times, far more than 490 times. In God's love and grace, all is forgiven. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.